And this is the agenda for today. We will start with a short intro to various parts of ExFlow AP. After that, we will do a walkthrough in Business Central. After that, we will go back to the PowerPoint and look at the step that we called Verify Changes. And then we will see if you have any questions, and I will also give you guys some other information towards the end. So here's the basic workflow. Of course, there are different ways you can work with various features and degrees of automation, but today we will focus on how it looks across these steps in the flow. And some setups connected to that. So first we have interpretation. Many of you use ExFlow data capture, but other services works as well. I know some of you in Finland use another service, for example. And to demonstrate what can be done in the first part today, I will use ExFlow data capture. Because what you interpret there can make your work in ExFlow and Business Central much easier. If you use ExFlow data capture or any other service. After you interpreted a document, you import it to ExFlow AP, and it lands in the import journal in Business Central. And here you ensure that the document is prepared for the approval workflows. You add accounts and so on, either manually or with functions. And then the next step is for your approvers to approve the document. So you create the document in the import journal, and then it moves to the approval status, where you can track the progress of the approvers and so on. And the approvers usually approve the documents in the approval web, but it can also be done in Business Central if you work there. And then when the document is fully approved, you post it, and you can then find the document in the ExFlow history. So let's start with some basic information related to the workflow. So for example, you need users with permissions, with coding rules and approval rules and so on. So here's a quick overview of the basics. So here are the permissions for your users on the web, showing what they can and cannot do. So let's have a look at each of them. So on the top there, you have approver, and if they have the permission role approver, they can approve, reject, or set a document on hold. And then you have power, which is same as above, but you can also forward documents or add or change coding. And then you have super, which is same as above, and then you can see all approved documents in ExFlow history. And then you have admin, and you can do the same as above, but then you can also set settings that applies for all approvers in the ExFlow web. So you can do a little bit more there. And in the ExFlow user card, you'll find the permissions under web permission role, as you can see here on the right. So that's where you set the web user permission roles. On the user card, you can also set coding rules. With coding rules, you can give users permission to specify what the user can and cannot do if they have a role, and permissions to make changes on a line, for example. So there is, however, 3 different kinds of coding rules. So first, we have ExFlow general coding rules, and these are rarely changed, and they can be considered the basic rules. And to manage these, you primarily use the other 2 coding rules here, or the categories, which is then user coding rules and denying coding rules. So you rarely touch the general coding rules after the installation of ExFlow. And then ExFlow coding rules, then user coding rules, these allow you to set filters like accounts, dimensions, and more. So for example, say that you can specify that a user can only use a certain group of accounts. You only want them to use a certain group of accounts or some of the dimensions. So you set this in the user coding rules. And these rules are set on user level on the user card, ExFlow user card, and can be applied per company. So So you can set multiple rules per company, but only one rule per user. And then on the user card, this is located under the user coding rule ID, as you can see here in the image. And then we also have ExFlow denying coding rules, and these can be applied to all users or specific groups or users. And with denying coding rules, you specify what the user is not allowed to do. For example, a combination of values they cannot use together. So for an instance, a user may not be able to leave a dimension empty when using a certain account and so on. And you can also use this to define whether a user must leave a specific dimension empty for certain amounts and so on. And you can set multiple denying coding rules for a company and in many various ways as well. And something else that is advantageous in that workflow is approval rules. So we won't go into the setup of approval rules today, as there are other training videos that provide deeper insight in this, but you might also have heard about approval groups. So I'll explain the two here to clarify the difference, as it can sometimes be confusing. So approval rules, those are used to automate and simplify the selections of approvers. And each rule is selected based on the numbers of matches that it gets. So which filters out which rule should be applied then, and the rule with the most matches is chosen by the system. And the most common setup involves an approval rule, and it contains approval groups. So each user belongs to an approval group, which is automatically created when you set up an ExFlow user with their email address, meaning that each user gets their own approval group when you create them. And you can also create shared approval groups. So for example, if you have an IT department where someone from IT needs to approve a document, so in that case, it's a first come, first serve basic scenario if multiple people are in the group. So only one person in the group needs to approve though, even if there are 4 approvers in the group. So in an approval rule, you have approval groups that approve the documents. And an approval group can consist of anywhere from 1 to multiple users. So this is an approval rule, and on the bottom here, marked in orange, you can see the approval groups, which are the users then. You can also build approval flows based on dimension owners. So what exactly are the ExFlow dimension owners? Well, this is another way to build a rule framework. And it's particularly used if you have approval flows that are based on a combination of multiple dimensions. So let's say that you have like 100 stores and you have, let's say, 20 regions, and each store or region has a designated person responsible for approvals. So that means that it could result in more than, 1,000 approval rules, many approval rules for each combination. So with ExFlow dimension owners, you can simplify this by only setting up a simple single approval rule that dynamically then handles all of these combinations. So the approval group does not have a static member or members. Instead, it dynamically fetched approvers based on the dimension owners that you set up. We have more information about this in our online manual, or you can contact your support if you need more help with that. So that was some basics. Let's do a walkthrough in Business Central. So let's go through the workflow now, along with some tips and tricks then. We'll start in EDC, ExFlow Data Capture here. Some of you use it and some of you don't. It works with other services as well, but this is just for educational purpose to see what you can do, for example. So in EDC, on the first page, some tips is that you can drag the columns the way you want it. So if you want to move one, you can do that. Just hold and move it where you want it. Once you've done this, it will be the same the next time you log in. However, if you, for example, clear the window of your memory, it will return to the original settings. You can also move these columns. So click on this one, and then let's say we want to take out all of these just for show. Then you can see that you have less, so you don't need to have all of them shown. You can also filter in the columns. So let's say that I just want one vendor. Where did vendor supplier name? There we go. So let's say that I just want one supplier to show. So then I search, push enter, and then I can see them. So if you want to take away the filter, then again, you just push reset up here. So let's open a document to have a look how it looks like. Here we have a document, and if a field hasn't been interpreted and you need to teach the system, you can do it in two ways. Either you can double click on a number, for example, or you push Control and you mark what information you want in that field. If you have a certain vendors with fields you don't use, then you can move them depending on what setup you have for your settings. So you can remove some fields and some don't. It depends on what permission you have as well. But if you want to take away a field, you push this I up here, and then you can see that it's a blue eye. These means that you can take away or show them. So let's say we don't want to see this one. Then we just push on the eye, click OK, and then we push the eye up here again, and then you can see that it goes away. So if you want to take it back, you do the same thing, and then you push the eye. And it's back. If you click on the pencil next to the vendor, you can, depending on whether you have the permission, use a setting here called Allow Complete Documents to Bypass Verification. And what this here does is that if you have a vendor who interprets correctly in all fields, the document will automatically be submitted to BC for import there. So you will not need to verify the document here in EDC. Also, we will be talking a little bit about functions in the next info session in November. And one of the fields that is important, I will talk about reference. So you can interpret a reference here. If you don't have that field, you could see if you could add it here, or you can contact your support to get it, for example. But we will talk a little bit more about reference codes and so on in the next info session. So you will get more information then. Let's move into BC. So take a look at the flow here. We will primarily look at the flow step by step here today and some tips and tricks through it. There's so much more that you can explore, but these are some things that you can think about. So let's start here on the home page. I have my home page set as the ExFlow economy role. So if you don't have that, it might sometimes feel nice to save bookmarks for the most used pages in ExFlow. The bookmarks are saved up here. You can change the settings for it here so you can add them. And how do you add a bookmark? Let's say that I want to add ExFlow reference codes. So I search for it, and if you hover over it, you see the little bookmark out here. So if you push there, already done that, but if you push there, you can see it then on the top of the screen. You can also find everything related to ExFlow in the BC menu as well. You find it here. And here you can see everything related to the role I'm using now. So if you use another role, it will look different. But if you don't have the ExFlow economy role that you use, you can click on Explore More Roles, and you can see the different roles that you can use, for example. Or the different pages that you can reach through here. If you're missing certain items here on the home page, you can also add and remove certain things by personalizing. So you click on this icon and then personalize. And when I hover over here, you can see that it turns red, for example. If you click here, you can move it or hide it. But you can also see that I have some gray here, which means that it's not showing. So you can click here and then show, for example. And when you're done, you click on done. That was a bit about what you can do on the home page. Before we move on to the next step in the flow, let's have a quick look at ExFlow user setup. So some things that is important to know about here is that you, for example, can add replacers here. So if we push here, you get this window. And here you choose if it should apply to all companies, or if you only want to apply to a certain company, you choose it here. I was on the line of AA Andersson, which means that this is the approver that I'm adding the replacer for. After I've added the company or all companies, you choose who should be the replacer. You choose start date and end date, and then you click on add replacer. Now you can see that I already have some replacers here. So if I, for example, want to take away one, you click on manage and then delete, and it will go away. You can also change the user's factbox size here. So if the user works in BC, this is where you do that setting. The factbox is, for example, where you see the discussion panel and the invoice and so on. You can also send a reminder here. If you click here, it will go out to the person you have marked, so to Anders in this case, if he has something to approve. And you need to set up a job for this to work. And then an email will be sent out summarizing all the documents that are missing approval, for example. Under actions here, we have something called batch create ExFlow reference and create ExFlow reference. So if you want to create an ExFlow reference code for your existing users, you can either do it for all users or individually here. And the selected user will then become the first approver in the reference code, and the code will use the user's ID. So please note that this only applies to the company you are currently working in, and we will go over ExFlow reference codes in the next info session. So let's open a user card and take a look here. On the top here, you pretty much have the same buttons as on the first page. And then you also have all the user details down here. One setting here is called full document access, which gives the user access to all ExFlow documents in all companies you have, if you click this one. And to the right over here, you can see that you have email reminders and Business Central notifications. The BC notifications will show up on the first page in BC, and the user needs to work in Business Central, of course. But the email reminders here will be sent to the email that you add here on the ExFlow user card. This is where it's set up, and you can set up that the user should get for unapproved documents, discussion panel, and contract invoice reminder. If you would like to stop or block a user, you do it here. So you stand on the company you want to block and you click here. Then you will get this box. And you first need to fill in a new user here. So you choose a user, and this needs to be completed to avoid stopping any documents that are currently under approval. You can also give the user access to all historical documents on Access History, as well as you can replace the user to give them in the approval rules and coding rules. And this is especially useful when a coworker is leaving the company and a new one is starting in the same role, and they might need access to the history and should be added to the same approval rules. So then you don't have to do this job manually. And here on the lines, you can see what we talked about a little bit, the web permission roles. You have the company name, web permission role, and then you have the user coding rule ID here. You can also see over here if it has been replaced by a user previously. And you also have here max amount for final approver if you want to work with that. So let's go back to the workflow. Let's say that you have interpreted a document in ExFlow Data Capture or any other program, then it's time to enter the import journal for the imported document. So let's go there. And here you have the journals that I use, and an ExFlow import journal is used then to import the documents, which then creates a document for approval. So you can use various functions such as codes. You can manage the action messages here, and you can create documents for approval in the import journal. You could, for example, work with sorting the documents into different journals. For example, you can select to only include expense invoices in one and purchase invoices in another one. And you can also set up configurations that allow you to automatically create lines over here for a specific group of documents, for example. And you can read more about that in our online manual as well. Let's start by entering one of my journals here. So let's go to this one. So let's start by talking a little bit about all the buttons up here. So under Home, for example, you have here Auto Coding Suggestion Manual Choice and Auto Coding Suggestion Automatic. And this function allows you to receive automatic coding suggestions or enter them manually. And it is based on historically recorded documents and works for invoices and credits. And to use this service, you need to set several configurations. So contact your support or check the online manual for more information. You also have Open PDF Viewer in New tab. So if you click here, you will open the PDF in a new tab, which then allows you to work in different windows. So for example, you have one in window with the invoice and then BC in the other. You have the vendor card here. So you can open a vendor card directly here, linked to the document, of course, for the line you're on. And then you have ExFlow vendor setup. So here you can find settings that is connected to a vendor and ExFlow. And you can access this page as well from the vendor card, and you can also find it by searching for it. Under Create, you have two options here. So when you're going to create a document, you can either do it in a batch, which means all documents that are ready to be created at once, or you can also create them individually. You can also select multiple documents if you only want to create some of them. So if you want to create one, you stand on the line and then you click here, or you can push F9 as a shortcut on your keyboard. If you would want to create several, you push these and select more, and then the same one or F9. Or if you want to create all of them, you just put batch create invoices. Okay, memos done. Under actions here, you have under import something called download import line Excel template and import lines from Excel. So if you have a document with many lines, it can sometimes be easier to work in Excel. So here you have a template that you can download, and below here, on the import lines, you upload the document as well. There's a minimum amount of columns that you need to fill out for this template to work. So for example, it is type, account number, and quantity, or number if it's not a GL account, for example. You also have get latest coding from vendor. So by pushing this, you are retrieving the latest coding, and you can bring up the most recently posted document then and copy those lines with this button. And then under functions, you have something called save coding to vendor. So if you want to save the accounts you have set on a line as an ExFlow purchase code directly to the vendor card, and you can quickly and easily do this with this button. We will talk more about purchase codes in the next info session as well. And then you have transfer selected documents to another company or to another batch. And with these two, let's say the first one to another company. So if you have more than one company, you can move the documents to that one before you create the document. And with the one for another batch, if you have more than one journal, you can also move the document to another journal before it's created. And here you can also batch update posting dates. You also have other buttons here related to orders, emails, and primarily posting. And on the bottom here, you have contract as well. So if you have a document that is going to be linked to a new ExFlow contract, you can create it by pushing create contract here. We will then use the information at the main level that you have filled in, such as like the purchase code, approval rule, and so on. Yeah, let's see, related. Under documents here, you can see the order card, you can show the contracts, dimensions, and here you have also the vendor bank account. On the right here, you have a little eye for the fact box, so you can open it or close it if you want to. And you can resize this. Either you can change it permanently then if you know what size you want under ExFlow user card, or you can do it for everyone under ExFlow settings or setup. And if you want to change it here now, you use these if you want to make it smaller or bigger. You can here also personalize the boxes, and you do it as the same on the first page. And then you can move them in what order you want them, or you could move or hide them. And when you're done, you click on done. You have the discussion panel here on the right, and it's good to know that you can tag people here. You just write this symbol and you get the list of people. And you can set up on the user card if you want to receive a notification in BC when you working there, or an email if you get a new tag on a document. And something that is really good to know is that if you tag a user here who works on the approval web, meaning not in Business Central, they won't receive the notification and won't be able to see the message that you tag them in until you create the document. However, if someone is working in BC and you tag that person, they will be able to see the document before you create it. You also have incoming document files here, and you can add some more files as well if you want to. You also have approval proposals here. And you have document details. So you can see header amount and line amounts, and if something would differ, you can see it here as well. If you have a warning message, you can see it here as well. Now it's in Swedish, the message, but this is where you see it. And if you then want to proceed to create the document after you have read the warning, you push this arrow and accept all warnings, and then you're able to create the document. And I will hide that box a little for now. So let's move on to what we call header level, which is up here, and down here you have line level. So here at header level, you have access to a lot of information. You can see the action messages. For example, here it says that there is warning messages that are not accepted, for example. You can see all the other information such as amounts and so on. And here you can personalize again. You can move the columns in the order you want. You could add more fields if there's something that you're missing, for example. And then you click on Done. There is a function here called Block Document. So you push here, then you might not be able to see the roll-down menu now because of a bug in Teams, but if you push here, you can see two words. One is creation and one is posting. So let's say that you don't want a document to be able to be created, then you can push creation here, and it won't be created even though everything is correct on it, but because you set this block. And you can also use the block from posting, and I will show you in approval status how it looks like there as well. So if you don't want to create a document, you can push creation here, and then, for example, you want to create all of the other documents, then you push batch create. On line level, you can see other things as well. Let's push this one. For example, you have show approval proposal here to quickly add and remove approvers, and under here, no, sorry, show available approval rules. There we go. You can, for example, under here see a button called copy approvers. So if you would change something and you click here, you can add that same to other lines, then you don't have to do it several times, for example. And then you have the one show available approval rules, which if you have more than one match, for example, to a rule, you can see it here, and then you can change it, for example. Also, if you are using ExFlow budget control, you can see it under here, show budgets. You can also down here change and add the columns as you could through the settings up here. Yes, let's move on to the approval status. So after you have imported a document and then you create it, it moves to ExFlow approval status. And then it's available for all the approvers on the web. Let's go here. You can, the same thing here, you can personalize your page if you want to add or change anything column-wise. So just do the same thing. Here, let's start on the header level again. You can see the status column, so you can see if it's a rejected document or if it's ready for posting or approved and so on. And another thing you can do here regarding bring out columns and so on, you can see that I have comment in discussion panel and comment on approval line, rejected lines and so on. So you could bring out those columns, and you can filter. So let's say that I only want to see documents that has a rejected line on it. Then I push this arrow and filter to this value. see, why is it not showing? Hold on. There we go. Then you can see here, rejected lines exist, and I want to see them. So yes, and then you can see that I get the lines there. If you want to take away the filter, you then push reset filters again. You might notice that I have some documents here that are red. You can configure a setting in ExFlow Setup to highlight a line in red. So let's say that a document is expiring or if it's been rejected. So to activate this setting, you go to ExFlow Setup. And then you scroll down to escalation, and then over here you have the settings. So you tick this box, and then you add how many days before or after it should happen that it's going to be a red line. So here I have -5, which means 5 days before it is overdue. Under the header level here, we have document lines, where you follow each line of the document. So here you can see this document have 3 different lines, and then per line you follow the approvers down here. Here you have some buttons that you can use, for example, complete. So here you can choose to complete document lines or complete all document lines. And when you do this, you need to add a comment as well. You can also restart route here. So for example, if a document has been rejected, you can click on restart route. Let's stand on the rejected one. There we go. And then you can choose if it's going to be this line or all lines. And then it's restarted. Next, we have copy to all lines. So if you have multiple lines, for example, on an invoice and you want to change it, so it has the same approvers to all lines, you can make that change. Then it will be the same approvers to all lines. For example, you also have the first schedule here. So if you click here, you will see them directly, allowing you to avoid going to the card, for example. And then on the bottom here, you also have the option to push restart route, just as on the top part. Down here, if you push, you get a few more options. So you can, for example, restart line from just that line you're on, or restart all lines, which restart all lines, then all approvals from the beginning, meaning let's say that I have 2 approvers here, and if both of them did approve, then this one will make them both approving again. And then we have restart from marked approver. So it restarts from the approver you're on for that line. And then the last one, restart from marked approver for all lines. It restarts from the approver you're on for all lines that have that approver. Yeah. And you can also approve marked approver line here if you want to complete an approval. When a document has the status approved, then you verify the document to see if any changes has been made to it. You can either do this manually with this button, or you can set up a setting that does the job in the background, and we will talk more about that in the 3rd session in December. And the verify changes step, I will show you this on the PowerPoint in a bit. But let's say that a document was verified and no changes was made. Then the document has the status ready for posting, as you can see here. And you can post that document in 3 ways then, provided that the document has the status ready for posting. You can also automate this step, and we will talk about that in December as well. But if you then want to post a document, you can either send on the line and you can click F9, or under actions here, you have posting and post. You can also, what I mentioned earlier, select more. So you can select more lines and then do actions, posting, post, or F9. Or you can do post batch as well. And then all documents that are ready to be posted will be posted. Let's look at the menu here as well. So I mentioned a setting in the import journal that you could block a document from being created or posted. So as you can see here, we have this document with an error message saying this document is marked as blocked for posting. So I have tried to post this one, but it didn't work because I have the block on it. Let's see how it looks like if I would try to post this again. The document is marked as blocked for posting. So to take away this block, you go to the card. And here you have ExFlow block documents, and then you push to leave it blank. I'm not sure if you can see the roll-down menu now, but it's a roll-down menu, and you just push to leave it blank. Then you go back. And let's try to post this one now to see if it works. Let's see. Yeah, so now it's posted. So that's how you take away the block. You also have send reminder up here. For example, the majority of you probably have a daily email reminder sent out and set up as a job. But in addition to that, you can also send extra reminders whenever you need or want to. So you can either do this for ExFlow users to send a reminder to a specific person there on the user card, or you can select one or multiple lines here and then click send reminder. Then let's say that one user has several lines with different documents that it should approve, then it won't send out like several emails. It will send like in a batch, just one email with everything in one concluded there, just like a summary. You can also here filter on approver. So to filter documents here by approver group, you can choose to see current, not processed, or all. So I might only want to see this person's current. Then I get all the invoices here, for example. Under actions here, and then under functions, you have batch update posting date, and this can be used to batch update the posting date if you need to move a document from one month to another, so provided that it has not been approved yet, and so on. And then you have posting, and here we have something called preview posting, and it's a function in BC, just like standard BC, that allows you to preview the posting. And then you also have the fact box here on the right, just like in the import journal. You can see the documents, and you can see the incoming document file. So you can add more here if you want to. You can download a document as well. And then you can see the discussion panel. And here, if you tag someone and write a message, the document is created. So it will be sent out then if you have set up the notifications, for example. And when your document is in the approval status, it is available on the web for your users to approve. And out in the approval web, your approvers will approve the document. And we have a separate short video about this process that I will send to you after the info session as well. That's it in the approval status. Once you have posted a document, you will find it in ExFlow History. I have it here. You can search for the category that you want. So I will show you ExFlow approval status history now. You can here on the right see the document as well, and you can also see the incoming files and discussion panel here as well. You might only want to see, let's say I want to see all the documents for my vendor Telia. So then I search for it, and then all the documents will be displayed. Push the cross again if you don't want to see them, and all of the documents will show up again. You can also use the filter option here. So you push the filter pane, and you will see this. Let's say I want to filter on a vendor. So I want to filter on this one. And then this is a search that I do a lot. So then I can save it by pushing this one. If I push this, I will get to write what I want it to be named. And then up here, you have a roll down menu. So I can choose it easily later if I want to see that again. We also have something that we call ExFlow Search Documents. So we click here, and here you have many columns that you can use, but you also have one here that is called Search Columns to add even more. So here you can, for example, add dimensions as well, and so forth. And after you filled out all the filters that you want to use, you push Apply Filter, and then you will see your results. We also have reports that you can see or use for different areas. So for documents, for users, and approval rules. So that's it. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. I talk a little bit about the last step called Verify Changes. So let's have a look at how that looks like step by step. So the final step in approval status then is to approve changes to a document that has been sent out to approvers on the web and is approved by them, unless you have set up under other automation settings, that is. So for example, here we have an invoice that has been fully approved, and you can see this in the status column here. It's approved. So now we want to see if it has been done any changes to it. So we click on Verify Changes up here before we post it. You will then get this box, and it will display all the lines that have been modified or remain unchanged on the web. So when you see here, for example, red values, it indicates that those values were changed from what was originally sent out, and the black values up here then represents the new updated value. So if a change is correct, you click on Update Document to refresh the document card with all the new changes, or you can push Update All to update all documents with changes. And once all documents are updated, this page will close automatically, and then the status on the document will, after that, update to ready for posting. And in the latest release, we have added the fact box in Verify Changes, so it allows you to view the document if you wish. So you can access it by clicking on the icon, this little one, and then you will see it to the right in the screen here. If you want to reject the changes that have been made, you click on the arrow over here next to the approvers, located on the right, and then you click Restart Approval Process. When you do this, you will see this first window asking if you want to restart from the marked approver or from marked approver for all lines. After that, you will get this box. The second box will appear, and it's named discussion panel dialog, that box. So you can write a comment here, which will then tag the approver. And once you click OK, the comment will be added to the discussion panel. And depending on what you chose in the first box, then the approval flow will restart. So you can see on the bottom here that it will restart, and then you can see the comment in the discussion panel.